Hello everybody, I'm Shruti Ramanujam and I'm from the Exchange Reporter Plus team of Manage Engine. Thank you very much for joining today's session, for taking the time out of your obviously busy schedule to listen to what we have to say here at Manage Engine about how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus to report on your Exchange environment. So I hope my voice is clear and that there are no glitches that are taking place right now. And if you have anything you need to say about that, you can use the chat box that you see on your screen. And over the course of this workshop, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because we are sitting right here. We have our support team ready to help you out if you have any queries at all. So you can shoot out your questions through the chat box that you see on your screen. And we'll be more than happy to answer them immediately. And if we are not able to do so, we will be getting back to you with the solution at the end of the session through an email. So none of your questions are going to go unanswered today, so keep that in mind. Right. So today's workshop, which is the second in this series of workshops, we have this workshop series actually consists of 5 workshops, and this is week 2. And today's workshop is going to be all about auditing. So any change that happens to the critical components in your Exchange organization is going to be audited when you use Exchange Reporter Plus. So through this workshop, we will be seeing how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus to audit mailbox logons to see who logged on to a mailbox that was not their own. You can use the product to see any changes to mailbox properties, such as mailboxes being activated, deactivated, or moved, or changes to Exchange databases, such as unexpected dismounting of stores of your databases. So any mounting or dismounting of databases and so on can be audited using Exchange Reporter Plus, which is what we are going to see today. And just to give you a quick recap about what we saw in the previous workshop, we saw how you can track the storage components, how you can report on the storage components in your Exchange environment, such as mailboxes, mailbox databases, public folder databases, and so on. We saw how you can identify inactive mailboxes, disconnected mailboxes, and more using Exchange Reporter Plus. So if you did not attend the previous workshop, it's completely fine. This workshop is not really going to call back to what we saw in the previous workshop, but if you'd like to know what exactly went on in the previous workshop, just reach out to us and we will send you the link. The videos are actually up on YouTube of one of our previous workshop series, so you should find them pretty helpful to understand what exactly was discussed in the previous workshop. Right. So in today's workshop, we will be learning about the auditing solution of Exchange Reporter Plus, as I mentioned earlier. So you can use this functionality to track, audit, and report on unauthorized or accidental mailbox logon items. You can view critical changes that have taken place to your mailbox permissions and any change that happens to your Exchange databases. So these are all the things that we are going to see today. And without further ado, let's look at the agenda for today, the list of tasks that we will be performing today, so that you get a clear picture about what you can expect from the next half an hour. So these are the tasks for today. We will be seeing how you can get real-time alerts when a person who is not the owner of a mailbox tries to log on to that particular mailbox. It could be intentional or accidental, but anytime non-owner mailbox logons happen, you can audit them using this product, and I will be showing you how exactly you can do that. Also, you can also track changes to the storage quota of all the mailboxes in your organization. And if you want to do this only for the most important people, the C-suite, say, in your organization, you can do that too using Exchange Reporter Plus. So we will be going into that in detail in a while. And then we will be seeing how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus in order to track changes to server configuration, such as changes to your hub transport settings, your connector level changes, and changes to the circular logging setting. We will be seeing how you can audit changes to mailbox permissions, So if someone suddenly has full access permissions over a mailbox which they were not supposed to have full access permissions, you can audit that using Exchange Reporter Plus. And the final topic that we will be looking at today is you'll be seeing how you can get real-time alerts when an Exchange database is mounted or dismounted. So we have reports that show you all the databases that are mounted or dismounted, and we also have the alerts functionality, which gives you an instant notification when an Exchange database is mounted or dismounted. So these are the tasks that we will be performing today. So over the course of this workshop, I will be using a lab setup. I've switched to the product screen currently. So this is the lab setup that I'll be using, and the URL is admp.cloudapp.net : the port number, which is 8181. So if you're keeping an eye on your chat window, you'll see that we've actually sent you the link. So if you want hands-on experience, if you want to play around with the product as I speak, you can do so. But keep in mind that this is a straightforward product. So if you want to track non-owner mailbox logons, you just need to click on the non-owner mailbox logons report. But just in case, I'm just going to be showing you the report and giving you use cases that our customers usually report that they found helpful. So to get hands-on experience, obviously you could also play around with the product, and this is just a workshop setup, a lab setup, so you can see how exactly it would work if you want to evaluate or anything. So the credentials to log in, they're just admin as both the username and the password, and they also have been sent to you over chat. So let me quickly log in, and I'll also give you a minute if you wish to log on along with me. Right. So if you're interested, I hope you've logged in. So this is our product, and we have a dashboard in the beginning. And as I mentioned in the previous workshop, and this is for the people who missed out on the previous workshop, there are three main functionalities of Exchange Reporter Plus. Basically, they are reporting, auditing, and monitoring. In the previous workshop, we focused on the reports tab. As I mentioned earlier, it was all about reporting on storage components such as mailboxes, public folder databases, servers, and so on. So since it was about reporting, it was present here. And today's topic is all about auditing. So everything that you need to know is present in this audit tab. And every report that you want that's relating to auditing an Exchange environment is neatly provided here. And if you take a look at the left pane, there are two categories available: audit reports and advanced audit reports. Now what could that mean? What do you mean by advanced audit reports? So so here's what it means. If you look at the audit tab, these reports, they give you information, as in the information that is available here is based on server-based auditing. So the information that is available under all the reports available under the audit reports tab is going to be from the event log, whereas advanced audit reports bring up results by running PowerShell scripts. So that's one thing you don't have to remember anymore. So it gets your data based on the PowerShell scripts. So for example, let me just quickly explain to you the difference with an example. So let's take the non-owner mailbox logon report. And that's present here. Under the audit reports tab, you can see a report here called the non-owner mailbox logon. And as I explained earlier, this is going to show me all the users who are not owners of a mailbox who try to log on to that particular mailbox. So that's what this report does. However, since this is based on server-based auditing, this report is not going to bring up details if I have 2013 and 2016 servers in my organization. In that case, I need to go to advanced audit reports, and the report that I'm looking for is the non-owner activity on mailbox, which is almost the same except that here PowerShell scripts are run in order to get this information. So this is how this works. But basically the information, as in the reports, that the categories and the reports that we have available are almost the same. So you're going to be able to audit mailbox logons, changes to mailbox permissions such as your full access or send as permission. You can track the changes to mailbox properties such as changes to the storage quota or changes to the size restriction or so on. And you can also audit changes to Exchange databases. So any change to server configuration or any change to the databases being mounted or dismounted, you can audit all of this using this audit tab. So you can easily detect any unauthorized access that goes against your organization's security policy using all these reports. And over the course of this workshop, I'm going to show you how exactly you can do that. Also, with the auditing solution of Exchange Reporter Plus, reports are not all that you get. If you look at the left pane, there are 4 options available. The very first one being alerts. So using the alerts option, you can configure real-time alerts so that you get instant notifications on events that require immediate action. And then there's the archive configuration option, which allows data to be archived when it goes beyond a certain period. And you can also easily re-archive when you wish to do so. And then there's the reports configuration button, which allows you to create, customize, and schedule reports for your organization. And finally, there's audit configuration to ensure that all your audit reports get populated properly and no event goes unnoticed in your organization. So this is just to make sure that all your audit reports have data. So setting up Exchange Reporter Plus is not really going to take that much time. And in order to configure your Exchange server for the audit reports, you just need to come to audit configuration. So everything's available right here. You can see that diagnostic logging status is configured. And there's server-based auditing, mailbox-based auditing, and so on. So this is what we're going to look at today, audit reports. So let's start the workshop. Let's look at the first task of the day because we've spent sufficient time discussing the auditing functionality of Exchange Reporter Plus. So this is the first task for the day. We will be trying to find out all the users who accessed other users' mailboxes. And in order to start off with the use case, let me mention this. Many times you may wish to find out when users other than mailbox owners try and log on to a particular mailbox. Your mailboxes obviously contain corporate information and they could also contain other confidential data that you wouldn't want other people to get in touch with. You wouldn't want other people to know what confidential data that you are storing in your important mailbox. So this happens when it comes to the top level, the top brass of your organization. They could have confidential data. We don't want other people to get their hands on this confidential data. Because if this happens, it could lead to fatal errors. It could cause severe policy violations in your organization. So in order to detect this unauthorized access to confidential data, you can use the non-owner mailbox logon report of Exchange Reporter Plus. So this is how you do it. Let's switch to the product screen, and as I mentioned earlier, there's the non-owner mailbox logon report here. You could also use the advanced audit reports category in order to look at the non-owner activity on a mailbox. So let's go with non-owner mailbox logon. Click on it, but we already know what it's going to show us. It's going to give me all the details about non-owner logons to the mailboxes in my organization, or in this workshop setup rather. So it shows me the name of the mailbox, the server name, the time at which this happened, this non-owner logon happened. You can see the caller username. So this guy, James, tried to log on to Chris Marrier's mailbox on April 26, 2017 at 6:07 a.m. The logon type is obviously non-self logon, which is why this information is available under the non-owner mailbox logon report. So it took me maybe a minute, less than a minute, to generate this information. Now compare this with how you would usually struggle with native tools in order to obtain information such as this. So this obviously is an advantage when it comes to Exchange Reporter Plus. Exchange Reporter Plus does the legwork for you, and all you need to do is click on the report and view the information that it generates for you. And for the new attendees here, there are 4 main things that you can perform to every report of Exchange Reporter Plus. And believe me, it's a reporting software. So we have a lot of reports available, more than 200 reports, and there are 4 options that you can perform to every report of Exchange Reporter Plus. The very first thing is you can bookmark the report. So you can bookmark the report so that you can easily access it later on, and you can do this using the Add To button. So click on it. You need to select a category, or if the category is not present, you need to click this bar right here next to the blue plus button, and you need to enter in the category. So I'm going to call it the mailbox logon reports category. So if I click on the plus symbol, it's added to this list, and I need to select the category so that it's chosen. The name of the report is obviously the non-owner mailbox logon report, and I'm going to keep it as just that. I don't want to make any changes here. And then click Save. The report has been bookmarked successfully. So the next time I want to access this report, I don't need to go to the Audit tab and then come to Mailbox Logon Reports and then click on Non-Owner Mailbox Logon. Instead, I could just go to the My Reports option available here at the top of the screen, and the report, all the bookmarked reports are available here, and I can select the report that I wish to look at, because this is something that, if it's something that you want to check on every day at a specified time, you can just bookmark the report and just go to the bookmarks option or the My Reports option in order to select the report and view the details that are available under the report. The second thing you can perform is export the report into any of these 4 formats: CSV, PDF, XLS, and HTML. So you can export it to any destination folder in any of these 4 formats. You can print out the report so that you view it later on, or you can schedule the report to be emailed to you at specified time intervals. And in order to do so, you need to click on the Schedule This Report link. So you can select the option here when you want it to be emailed to you. What time intervals do you want? Do you want it to happen daily or any other options such as weekly or monthly? And you can select the report storage path, the report format, when you want the report to be generated for. And finally, if you want it to be emailed, you just click the email the scheduled report option, enter your email address here. The subject and the message are available here. You can also edit it so that it suits your needs. And how do you want the report to be emailed to you? Do you want it to be attached, or do you want it to be published and get the link alone? So you can choose either of these 2 options, attached report or published report, and that's it. You just have to go ahead and click Save, and the report is going to be scheduled and it's going to be emailed to you at specified time intervals. So so Exchange Reporter Plus makes things easy for you. Let's take a look at the next task for the day. In the very first task, we saw how you can track non-owner mailbox logons, and in the next task, this is what we're going to see. Okay, I don't know what this weird gray strip is, but yeah, let's hope it goes away in a while. Oh, it actually went away. It did not. Anyway, so since it's not obstructing our view in any way, let's just go ahead with the workshop. So the next task for today is track storage quota changes. So the thing with storage quota changes, you need to track the storage quota for all the important mailboxes in your organization. You need to see which mailboxes in your organization have undergone a quota change. And especially if this is an important user in your organization, it's going to spell trouble, because say a storage quota change happens and this is an unauthorized change. These unauthorized changes can have consequences, like they could prohibit sending or receiving of emails, or they could prevent a voicemail from being delivered correctly to a unified messaging enabled user. And imagine if this were a higher official or a higher executive in your organization who is not getting his messages because of unauthorized storage quota changes. So this is obviously a problem. And so this task is going to involve 2 activities. The very first activity is we are going to see all the mailboxes. That is, we are going to list out all the mailboxes in this workshop setup or in your organization that have undergone a quota change. And the second task, the second part of this task would be we'll be seeing how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus in order to customize the report. The first task is going to list out storage quota changes for all the mailboxes, and I'm going to customize it only for important mailboxes. I want it to be run only for the important mailboxes. So I'll customize it so that it's run for specific mailboxes in my organization. So that's what we're going to do right now. So let's switch to the product screen. And this report is available under the mailbox properties changes category, and it's the very first report available there. It's called the mailbox storage quota changes report. So what this report is going to do is this. It will track all the recently modified mailbox quota limits, and it's going to display information about it. It's even going to show me the old value and the new value of quota limits. So it shows me the caller username, that is the user who changed the storage quota limits, the mailbox in which this change happened, the server name, the time at which it happened, the attribute that was modified is listed out here, any remarks. So if it's an attribute that was modified, it says so, or if an attribute is added, does it say that anywhere? Yeah, so if an attribute is added, it gives that as a remark, or if it's an attribute that was modified, it also gives that as a remark. And the new value and the old value are also displayed here. So this is how this report works. This is just a workshop setup, so obviously the report is pretty small. But in the real life scenario, in a real setup, is going to be a huge report since it's run for all the mailboxes in your organization. So it depends on the size of the enterprise, obviously. And the use case that I mentioned earlier was this. When storage quota changes happen for higher executives in your organization, it's going to be a problem. If they don't, if sending or receiving of emails is prevented for these higher executives, it's obviously going to be a problem. And here's how you can rectify it using Exchange Reporter Plus. That's the second part of this task. So in order to do that, you just need to go to report configuration. You can see it right here. I discussed it in the beginning of this workshop. There are 4 options, and the link that we're looking for is report configuration. So go to report configuration and click on add new report, because I want to create a new report which tracks storage quota changes just for specified mailboxes. I'm going to select particular mailboxes, and this report should be run only for those particular mailboxes. So we've clicked on create report, enter in a name for this report. So let's call it storage quota for specific mailboxes or something along those lines. Storage quota changes for specific mailboxes. It's up to you really. So this is my report name. Let me select the category for which this report needs to be run. Since this is a change to the property of mailboxes, storage quota is a mailbox property, and obviously the category would now be mailbox properties changes report. Click on it. And we're looking for quota changes. So we need to select the first 2 options available here for report actions. So mailbox quota modified for 2003 and 2008. So these are the report actions that I'm selecting. You can select the target mailboxes. So you're going to run this report for important mailboxes. So by clicking on the plus button right here, I already clicked on it. So yeah, it gives you a pop-up window, and through this window you can select the important mailboxes for which this specific report needs to be run. So let me randomly select 5 mailboxes. Let's assume these are the 5 important people in this test setup. So click OK. Call a username in order to see, if you want to select just specific users who made changes to the storage quota of the important mailboxes, you can select specific users. But since this is just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and select all the caller usernames that are available here in this pop-up window. So I clicked here to select all the users, and now I can click on OK. So here's what this report would do. This action is going to create a report for me called storage quota changes for specific mailboxes, and report action. It's going to track storage quota changes to these mailboxes, the target mailboxes that I selected here. I selected 5 mailboxes. So it's going to track any change that happens to the storage quota of these 5 mailboxes. And this change could be done by any of the caller users that are mentioned here in the last tab or in the last option in the last space. So every caller username that I selected here, if they make any changes to any of these mailboxes, this report is going to let me know about it. So let's click create for the report to be created. So this is how you can configure reports so that they are run for specific mailboxes alone. And that's it. You can actually go to the report and view information about this. You can see the report here available under mailbox properties changes. Click on storage quota changes for specific mailboxes. And this is just a workshop setup, so we don't even know if any change had happened to those 5 mailboxes that I used. It obviously says no data available. So once events happen, this report is going to be populated with data. So I'm sure you get the picture. You get how this would help you out in the real world in your own organization. So that's how this report works. Let's move on to the next task of the day. In the next task for today, we are going to see this. We are going to see how you can track changes to server configuration, how you can track changes to the hub transport settings, connector level changes, and changes to circular logging. So this is something that our customers always bring up. If your enterprise is large, if you're from a large organization, you're obviously going to have multiple administrators. And when you have multiple administrators, it is always good to check on who made changes to what configuration component. So troubleshooting would not be a problem anymore if you're recording which administrator made what change. So troubleshooting becomes so much easier should any problem arise. And auditing server configuration changes is also extremely beneficial when it comes to adhering to regulatory compliance policies, or if you have any other legal requirements, or if you need documentation for further proof later on to see who made what changes and so on. So in a multiple administrator environment, you always need to be vigilant about changes to server configuration. And you can do so easily using Exchange Reporter Plus, because we have 3 reports available for you with which you can track changes to the hub transport setting, changes to your send and receive connectors, and changes to circular logging. So this is how you do it. Let me switch to the product screen, and the reports are available under Exchange Database Changes category. The very first report that we're going to look at is the Hub Transport Settings report. So in this report, Exchange Reporter Plus is going to track all the changes to the hub transport setting in your organization, and it's going to give me details about it. It's going to show me the user who made changes to the hub transport setting, the time at which the user did this, the attribute that was modified, any remarks, and the old and the new value for the hub transport settings is shown here, and the name, global transport settings. These are all displayed here so that you can get a quick look into the changes that happen to your hub transport settings. Similarly, another use case that we've been told about before. So say you suddenly have certain message routing issues in your organization. What do? You need to check out if any send or receive connectors have been reconfigured while you are troubleshooting. So that's how you make sure troubleshooting happens. And rather than trying to remember complex PowerShell scripts for this, you just need to use this report. I'm pointing at it right here with my cursor. It's called the Send and Receive Connector report, and I clicked on it by mistake. But anyway, so let's wait for the report to load. And the Send and Receive connector, it's going to show me any change that happened to the send connectors and the receive connectors in my organization. It lists out the name of the connector, the action that was performed. It shows me the time at which this happened, the user who made the change, the attribute that was modified, any remarks such as whether the connector was disabled, enabled, or so on, the old and new value. So this connector test outgoing was enabled earlier, and on April 26, which is today in the morning at 5:12 a.m., this connector was disabled. So this serves as excellent documentation for you. And when you're troubleshooting, say you need to like enable this connector again, you just need to take one look at this report and you immediately know what you should do. You immediately find out not just what the modification was, but you can also see who made this modification. So that's good. And finally, the other area where you can track server configuration changes. So you can track changes to the circular logging setting. And once again, in a multiple administrator environment, it becomes necessary to track changes to the circular logging setting. And what this report does is this. It shows me the database name, the server name, and so on. It shows me the type of the database. And yeah, the action that was performed, whether circular logging was enabled or disabled. And you can obviously click on the add or remove columns in order to get more information. So if you want the email ID, you can do so. And if you want more details, you can also go to the advanced audit reports category. I clicked on it right here at the top of the screen. This opens up, and as you can see, the report is available here too, circular logging changes. So let's click on it. And this is once again going to give me detailed information. So here there's no data available, but once data is gathered, it's going to show me all the information that I need. So this is how Exchange Reporter Plus helps you out in a multiple administrator environment. So if any administrator has recently made changes to hub transport settings, or if he has recently disabled a send or receive connector when it shouldn't have been done so, you can go back, look at the report, and get a clear picture about what exactly happened and how exactly you are going to troubleshoot this. Let's move on to the next task for the day. So this task lets me see how I can track the changes to the permissions based on mailboxes. So how do you find out if any permission changes have occurred on mailboxes? So this is a question that we are going to resolve using Exchange Reporter Plus. So you are going to see how you can find out when permission changes happen in mailboxes, and we will also see how you can use this product in order to find out exactly what went down while making the changes, how you can find out who made the changes, and so on. So mailbox permissions are the gateway to accessing sensitive information, obviously. So only trusted delegates are given send as permission or full access permission over these mailboxes. If an unwanted person gains access to the important mailboxes, they could obviously delete your messages, they could forward your messages, or they could just indulge in other unsavory activities, stuff that we don't exactly want these people to do. So it's very important to make sure that no one other than the owners or trusted delegates have permissions over the mailboxes in your organization. And how do you do that? Exchange Reporter Plus provides you with 3 nifty little reports through which you can not only track the permission changes, but you can also get real-time alerts each time a change is made. So this is how you do this. Let me switch to the product screen. And under permission changes, we have these 3 reports available. Mailbox permission changes, which relates to your read permission, write permission, and so on. And then there's changes to the mailbox send as permissions. And finally, there's overall mailbox permission changes, which relates to any permission change. It involves all the permissions, not just any specific permissions such as send as or full access permissions. So let's click on overall mailbox permission changes to understand exactly what Exchange Reporter Plus does. So this is how this report works. It's going to track all the mailboxes and see if any permission change has happened. Say for example, There could be a mailbox where only self-logon was present initially. So it was just the owner who had full access permission initially, and say someone unwanted, someone accidentally or intentionally goes forth and makes certain changes. If that person just gives himself full access permission, and like he gives send as permission to one person, full access to another, and so on, and say this is a mailbox that contains confidential data. This is not exactly something that you desire. You don't want other people to gain access to confidential data when they initially did not have access to it. You want only the trusted delegates to have access to the contents of an important mailbox. So in order to audit all of this, you can use this particular report of Exchange Reporter Plus. So it's called the Overall Mailbox Permission Changes Report, and this is what it tells me. It shows me the user who made the changes to the mailbox. You can see the name of the mailbox. You can see the server name, the time at which the permission change happened. You can see which attribute was modified, any remarks about how many access control entries were added and how many were removed. And it also shows me the old value and the new value. So if you want to take a look at the old and new values, you just need to click on this option right here, the more link. So you can see that before this permission change happened, you can see what permissions were initially present. So these were all the permissions that were initially present. And then if you look at the new value, you'll obviously see some more access control entries being added. So if you look at the remarks, it says one access control entry has been added. So you can take a look at this, you can compare it with the old value, and if it is something that was not exactly desired, you can track what happened, and this report is going to help you out in that way. So if anyone other than the owners and trusted delegates gain access to any of these mailboxes really, you can track it using Exchange Reporter Plus. And you can also set up an alert using the alerts option available right here. So every time someone other than owners or trusted delegates make changes or gain access to mailboxes, or they get if permission changes have happened to the mailboxes in your organization, you can track it easily using the alerts option. And the very next report that we are going to see, the very next task for the day, actually involves the alerts option too. So I will go into detail about how exactly you can set up an alert using Exchange Reporter Plus very soon. So this is actually the last task for the day. And before that, yeah, so right now we saw how you can track the changes to mailbox permissions using this report. And you also have the filter option available here, through which you can filter based on the server, based on the mailbox database, based on domain, and so on. And you can also set up a period using the period drop-down menu. So you instead of viewing this information for just today, you can also go back and view it for yesterday, the last 7 days, this month, or the last 30 days, and so on. So this is how you track mailbox permission changes. You can also set up an alert for mailbox permission changes, which I will be going into detail in the final task for today. So yeah, let's go back to the presentation. And this is the final task for today. We are going to see how you can get or how you can receive instant notifications when an Exchange database is mounted or dismounted. As we all know, the Exchange Information Store is the storehouse of all Exchange mailboxes, and any accidental change to your Exchange databases can have costly effects. It is therefore necessary to continuously monitor all the changes to your Exchange stores and get real-time alerts for each and every change. This way, you can determine if any store changes were accidental or intentional. So once again, this task is going to be two things. It's going to involve two tasks subtasks that we will be performing. So the first half of this task will be about how you can see, how you can get the information about all the databases that have been mounted or dismounted over a period that you select. The second part of this task will be about how you can configure an alert profile so that you get instant notifications when any Exchange database is mounted or dismounted. So let's switch to the product screen and I'll explain it to you in under a minute. So this report is present, we're going to look at two reports right now, and these two reports can be found under the Exchange Database Changes category. And as you can see, very straightforward, we have two reports available here called Exchange Databases Mounted and Exchange Databases Dismounted. So click on Exchange Databases Mounted, which obviously is going to show me all the databases that were mounted over the period that is set here using the period drop-down menu. So this report shows me the name of the database, the type of the database, whether it's a private mailbox store or so on. It shows me the action that was performed, which is obviously going to be store mounted. It shows me the name of the server and the time at which this happened. If you look at Exchange Databases Dismounted, it's going to show me similar information. It's going to show me the same information as the previous report, Exchange Databases Mounted. So it shows me the name of the database again, the type of the database, the action that was performed, the server name, and the time at which it was performed. So this is just the first part of this task. The second part, consider this. Unexpected dismounting of databases can deny access to the mailboxes for thousands of your end users. And what's going to happen if that happens? Your technical support is going to be flooded with calls from end users because they are not able to access their mailboxes anymore. So this is something which is not exactly desired, and I'm talking about unexpected dismounting of stores. So this is obviously going to be a problem, and in order to make this to be not a problem, all you need to do is set up an alert. You need to configure an alert so that you get a real-time notification which tells you, hey, your database has been dismounted, and what do you want to do about it? So you need an alert that tells you that. And in order to do that, you can use the alerts configuration of Exchange Reporter Plus. I'm pointing to it with my cursor. Click on the alerts button and I'll show you how exactly you can do this. So you're setting up a new alert, obviously. So you need to click on the new alert profile option. So click on new alert profile and set up the alert. You just need to key in the details about the alert so that you get it properly, like how you want to. So I want an alert about databases that get dismounted. So I'll call it the database dismounted alert. And description, which is actually optional, but I'm still going to copy paste the name as the description too. And then you can select the report for which you want the alert to be generated. So in our case, it's going to be database dismounted. So this report can be found under the Exchange Database Changes reports category, since it is a change to the Exchange databases. And this is about stores that are getting dismounted. So I will select the Exchange Databases Dismounted option under this particular category. And then click OK so that this report is selected. So every alert profile that you create gives you three options under the severity level. So you can decide whether the alert is critical, whether it's trouble, or if it's something that requires attention. The default is obviously going to be critical. Now, unexpected dismounting of stores is obviously a problem. I don't want my end users to be denied access to their mailboxes. So I'm going to leave the severity level at critical because it really is critical. And then there's another option which lets you customize the message that the alert is accompanied by. So I need to give a message which tells me the name of the database. It needs to tell me that it was dismounted and the server name if needed, and it also needs to tell me the time at which this happened. Obviously, this is going to be a real-time alert, but still, yeah. So this is how you do it. So my message is going to go something along the lines of this. The database, and I need it to be followed by the name of the database, was dismounted at this particular time. So how do I do that? I need to enter the database, and what I need here is the name of the database. I need the name of the database to be filled in right here. So in order to do that, I can use the macros option. And I need to select store name. So once I select this, it just inputs the name of the database right here. So they did. So this would go something along the lines of the database and the name of the database. So if the database is called ADMP-EX1, it would say the database ADMP-DX1. So yeah, so the database was dismounted, which would be store operation. What happened to the store? It was dismounted. So store operation would be replaced by dismounted when the alert message actually comes to me at the time at which this happened, which would obviously be time generated. And that's it. I can also enter in the name of the server by clicking on server name and so on. Let's just call it server colon. Okay. So now that I've entered in macros, it does this. It tells me the name of the database. It tells me that the database was dismounted, and it tells me the time at which this happened. It also shows me the name of the server. So this is how you set up a message. So when you get this message, you know that a database in your organization is dismounted, and if this is something that unexpectedly happened, you know that your technical support is immediately going to start receiving a lot of calls, and your end users are obviously suffering because they have been denied access to their mailboxes. This is not something that you want. So you get an alert message. Now, for all the actions that I've performed until now, this alert will just be available inside the product under the view alerts option. That's not what I want. I also want an email every time something like this happens. Under such a condition, I just need to click the checkbox that is available right here, email notification. So this makes sure that I also get an email notification when this happens. I need to enter in my email address here, and I'm going to enter in my own email address right here. shruti.r@zohocorp.com. And if you're entering multiple email IDs, just put a comma and start entering the email ID, right? So I'm just going to enter my own email address here. So let's just leave it at that. And I can also enter in the subject so that this message is sent, this email message is sent to me. So let's call it the database dismounted alert. You also need to configure a mail server so that the product is able to send you an email message. And since this is just the test setup, we haven't done so. So yeah, but you get the picture. So let's just remove this checkbox, and that's it. So once I click create, an alert is going to be generated every time a database is dismounted. And this is the message that the alert message will have. And that's it. So click create and the alert is going to be created. The next time an alert gets, the next time that a database is dismounted, I'm going to get an email notification. I didn't click the checkbox, but if I had clicked the email notification checkbox, I would receive an email message which says, hey, this database is dismounted and could you please look into it? Not in the exact same words, but yeah, this is how it's going to happen. So that's it for today's workshop, and we saw 5 tasks today. So let's have a quick recap about what exactly went down in the past half an hour, past 30 minutes. So we saw how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus in order to list out every single user who had access to another user's mailbox. So you can list that out, and then you can audit the changes to storage quota of all the mailboxes in your organization. And in this second task, another thing that we looked at was how you can use this product in order to make sure that you can audit the storage quota changes for specific mailboxes alone. So the report shows you storage quota changes for all the mailboxes, and you can change it. You can configure it so that it is also run for certain specific mailboxes. So if an important person in your organization is not able to send or receive messages anymore because of storage quota changes, that's something you can easily rectify by running this report for specific mailboxes alone, so that they don't lose out on a voicemail if they're unified messaging enabled and so on. We also saw how you can track changes to server configuration settings. So this means you can track changes to your hub transport settings, or changes to your send or receive connectors, changes to circular logging, and so on. We saw how you can track changes to permissions, again, mailbox permissions, and how you can set up an alert. for mailbox permissions. So setting up an alert was something I discussed in the last task for the day, and that's how you would set up an alert for every report under the audit tab. And finally, we saw how you can view all the databases in your organization that have been mounted or dismounted, and how you can get an alert every time a database is mounted or dismounted. So you will get a real-time notification. You can also set up an email notification so that you get an email every time a database in your organization is dismounted, so that it doesn't cause any trouble for your end users. So that's how this works. If you enjoyed this workshop, you obviously need to attend the next workshop too. And the next workshop is actually at the same time next week. So it's on the 3rd of May at 10:30 a.m. BST and 3 p.m. IST. And in that workshop, in the third workshop of this workshop series, we will be learning how you can use Exchange Reporter Plus in order to monitor your organization's Exchange environment. So we will be looking at a number of tasks. Next Wednesday, we will be seeing how you can use this product in order to monitor Exchange services, how you can monitor storage components, email queue, mail flow health, how you can check the client connectivity. So we'll be seeing how you can check the active sync connectivity, OWA connectivity, POP and IMAP connectivity, and so on, and also set up alerts whenever you need real-time notifications about any of these. And one another important thing that we will be discussing next Wednesday is performance monitoring, how you can monitor the server CPU and memory utilization in your organization. So these are all things that we will be discussing in the next workshop, which will be held next Wednesday, same time as today. And please don't miss out. Also, at the end of this session, you will be receiving a feedback form. So it would help us out a lot here at Manage Engine if you could actually fill out the feedback form for us, because if you could tell us how exactly we can improve this experience for you, it would be very helpful, because it really would help out for both of us if you could tell us what exactly you expect from these workshops. So please do fill in the form for us. And another thing that I would like to mention is this: you guys have been a great audience today, and I hope to see you next week too, next Wednesday, same time as today. Until then, I hope you have a great day, a great week until next Wednesday. Thank you, and a very good afternoon or morning to all of you.